Welcome to the Social Media Takeaway. I'm your host, Louise McDonnell, and today we are speaking about all things to do with image for building your confidence, enhancing your presence, and your impact. I'd like to welcome Aoife Dunican to the show. She's the founder of Style Bob. She offers personal and corporate image consultancy, helping men and women amplify their image for confidence, presence, and impact. Based in Ireland, Aoife works with people all over the world on image consults, wardrobe management, and speaking engagements. You're very welcome to the show.
Hi, Louise, and thank you very much for having me.
I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I made a special effort today. I was like, oh my God, what am I going to wear?
Well, we're both in blue, trust and loyalty, so we're off to a good start.
Yay. Well, I did have a peek on some of your other interviews, and I was in Liffey Valley the other evening, and I spent about an hour looking for a red top, and I couldn't find one. So it's just not meant to be.
Yeah, we
So
talk about red, but no, blue is a good one because obviously this is the first time you and I have met. So blue is a really good kind of icebreaker because it is that color of trust. So we both chose well, Louise.
excellent, excellent. Okay, so Aoife, tell me about your journey. How did you come to be an image consultant?
As we know with career journeys, they're never a straight line. And you could say that it was a job that I was kind of born to do because I'm extremely passionate about it. And if somebody asks me, a dinner party, Eva, what do you do? And I used to say in the first 6 months of my business, oh, I just dress somebody. And now I say I change people's lives through their image. I'm in the business, 4 years. I've dressed over 100 women and some men. And what I set out to do in terms of using clothes just to do something small with women has turned out that I've been able to make them do remarkable things because they've now had the confidence to do it. So if I go back as to how all that happened, I mean, we talk about personal branding and our image. The first person that taught me that was actually my father. I was 4 years of age, and my father was heavily involved in everything from plowing. He was also a farmer, he was an auctioneer, he was involved in racing. And I always knew the day, whatever my dad wore that day, I always knew what he was doing. So is he going to sell cows? Is he going to sell a house? Has he got to stand up and make a presentation? Because he changed his clothes and attire to become the person he needed to be that day. And I never needed to ask mom. I just knew his accent changed, his body language changed. And of course, if you take that at a young age, it was quite inspirational for me. Now, you add in the fact I'm the youngest of seven. I have three extremely talented sisters who were amazing at craftsmanship. So if you think back to 1979, my sister is in New York, working for a summer, and she sends me home this dress with hoops in it, taffeta, big puffy sleeves. And that, by the way, was just to wear to my birthday party. So I to this day, my friends say that, I arrived at the birthday party. I just didn't show up. So I grew up with not an extreme, a very premium level of craftsmanship in the house where I can hardly sew a button, but my sisters, through my mother and my aunt, had a wonderful love of fabrics and cut, so that everything I did as a child, it was always going to be, well, what will you wear? So I sang a lot as a child. And I sang at weddings and funerals with my sister. I was singing, she was on the piano. And I had a particular dress that had boning in it. It was actually from Laura Ashley. And when I put on that dress, I could become that person that had to stand up in a church, that had to get the song out. Because trust me, it wasn't an easy thing to do when you're a self-conscious child, as you are at a young age. So I used to perform in the local singing competitions. And then, of course, you fast forward it on to when you go to America and you've got to get a job and you're on your J1, you have to look older than you are. So then I have to become 24 as a 19-year-old to nail that job. You're doing your first interview after college. How can my clothes be a part of my personality, show my curious, creative side? Because I studied marketing. And, we know with marketing, it means lots of things, but it is to stand out. So how can I market myself using my clothes to stand out? So I was in marketing for a while, always had a massive love of fashion along that way. I also was able to continue my, I suppose, journey from differentiation in clothing, in that I had a wonderful friend, a very good friend of mine, Mary, who made all my clothes for me in my 20s. I would buy a Hello magazine and I'd say, Mary, can you make me that? She'd go, oh God, here we go again. And so I always loved that self-expression piece, that piece of craftsmanship, and of course the confidence piece. So that's what I saw as clothes. I never wanted to go into the fashion business, interestingly enough. And for me, it was always about the impact. So then kind of roll on to, a career in marketing that I loved. I then had 3 children under 4, and it was quite a crazy time. My husband's job was getting very busy. So, I was going to say I gave up work at that time, but I took a career break for 7 years. And at the time, when you're at home with children, your confidence, no matter what happens, your confidence does decrease a little bit. And you're kind of thinking it's been Groundhog Day every day. And it's very tough work. But I got the opportunity to go back and work for Deloitte. So you're there one day, kind of doing the washing and doing pickups. The next minute you're working for a global firm. And the imposter syndrome, as we know, is out there. And for me, I remember looking at that YouTube video, fake it till you make it. And that lady, Amy Cuddy, said, well, actually, you fake it till you become it. So I used my clothes going back in that first day into a global firm to actually show them that I haven't not worked in 7 years. I didn't want to come in as the person who had left the workplace. I wanted to come back in as this modern woman. I was 44 years of age, maybe 43, I wasn't sure. I was back working with marketing agencies again. So back when I worked in marketing 20 years ago, we all just wore black suits and white t-shirts. And I didn't want to look like that person again, because I wanted to look like I had evolved. In terms of evolving, that if I had an evolved dress, I had an evolved mind. So my first meeting with a marketing agency, I wore this, what I call a lovely leather skirt to the knee. I had an interesting necklace. I was still very much in professional attire, but I felt relevant. I felt really relevant. And inside I was going, oh my God, I haven't a clue. And they just mentioned this word called SEO, and I have no idea. But I'm just going to sit here and pretend that I know everything.
Write it down.
But it was said, I had no idea, but everyone just kind of, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm actually double everyone's age in here. But the clothes gave me a seat at the table. Of course, your head and your brain has to come first. But I felt relevant. It told me I felt relevant. So that when I spoke, I didn't feel kind of out of place. Also, that first week, I met a lady in the Lewis on the way back, and she said to me, oh, you're the new girl. I said, yeah. And she said, how's your first week? And Deloitte were wonderful to work for. And I said, oh my God, it was shocking. I hadn't a clue. I kicked the photocopier instead of calling IT. I didn't know, these things that you do. And I didn't know those electronic diaries. But she said, why? I said, look, I haven't worked in 7 years. And she goes, oh my God, we all talked about the new girl having this air of confidence. So I tricked everybody. I tricked myself into going, you can do this. I kind of tricked everybody else to thinking she can do this. So look, eventually your work has to stand up for what it is, but the clothes were that entry point that helped my confidence and also helped the impression that others had of me. So that for me was just a huge personal moment about the power of clothing. And then 4 years later, I'm in Deloitte, and I'm getting to 47, 48, and I'm going, oh, I know, go back to another. I was working in graduate recruitment. Here we go again. And I went to a career coach, and we did all the, the tests, all the personality tests. And Anya was fantastic. And she said, what do you really want to do? And I said, Anya, there's so many wonderful coaches coming in to help women in Deloitte and men. And I said, but I would love to give that layer of confidence, number one, to women. And secondly, to give that perception of them being, this amazing person, because we had lots of wonderful coaches, but I felt that piece was missing. Then what was also starting to happen was after a meeting, I could have somebody come up to me and say, actually, if I've got an event this weekend, or I've got a big meeting next week, or I've got something. So people started just confiding in me. And then I went off to London, did a course in image consulting, came back, and the career coach said, you are going to speak to 40 women in 2 weeks' time about the power of image. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And she goes, yes, you are. And I said, who wants to listen to that stuff? And she said, Aoife, you were made to do this. She noticed a huge difference after I did the course. I was very excited. I also, you can't start saying you're an image consultant and start charging every Friday. I didn't work on Fridays. I just did loads of free clients because I needed to work out how I worked with people, whether what I was doing was making an impact. And then this talk came up, but it all kind of came together. And I did the talk to 40 women, and I thought they're going to go, this is just silly. They're all execs. And I was trying to make it not a little bit highbrow, but what was really interesting is that people coming up afterwards going, what color is your lipstick? I thought this would be a bigger, more, intellectual question here, but it was just where women wanted to kind of know small little tips on how they can increase their confidence piece. So then, I'm there going, okay, there's something in this. And then you have that decision where you're, 48 going, okay, it's now or never. I'm not 38 doing this. I'm not 28. I need to decide what I'm doing. So, and wonderful support from Deloitte, I left and set up my business. What a wonderful time to set up your business, Louise.
Oh
January
no.
2020.
Oh no.
I've always had wonderful women who have had amazing trust in me and confidence in the last, 51 years. And my previous boss said, I want you to come in and do a keynote speech for 150 women. So I did that. And we talked about the funnels. So, I had lots of business come through that. And next minute, bang, you think it's over. But in fact, as we all had to do, the word pivot, the overused word pivot, I did turn my business around to speak in 12 different countries in the 4 years that followed that, because I just had to use this little square space and get my message out there. And I address people from all over the world through an app that I use, and obviously address people kind of face to face. So not that I think with COVID, it was such a horrendous thing to happen, but it allowed me to grow globally and to grow much quicker. And I had to adapt really quickly. So now, when I do sit beside that person at the dinner party, I say I change people's lives because I've been with these women, and it's amazing that it's the difference that I have been the difference in them showing up to something or not. And that's really, really powerful and very personally rewarding for me. It's hard work, as we know. Your own business is really hard work, but it's what gets me up in the morning. It's more than the clothes on our back.
Yeah, it's so funny because I was thinking about this interview and I was thinking what kept coming into my head was, should we judge the book by the cover? So I know like part of what you do is for the person that's showing up, you're helping them grow in confidence and, with their presence. But like how much of it then is down to the people that we meet and how they interpret it. They form an opinion about us based on first impressions.
Yeah, I say to somebody, you shouldn't judge people in the first 7 seconds, but sadly, be prepared to be judged
Yeah, yeah.
in 7 seconds. And it goes back to, cave times where, in order to protect ourselves, if we saw somebody coming, we had to react straight away. So if you think about the amount of thoughts we've coming through our brain every day, they say 40,000. I think it's probably more like 70,000 now with social media. We do make our mind up really quickly. It's not that we're, sad, shallow people. We just sometimes have to. We're on this kind of rotation system. And what I say to people is that, yes, don't judge, but when you are going to be judged, you decide what that judgment should be.
Try and control it a little bit more.
You control it, because
Mm.
I do a lot of talks about first impression. And I always say to a company, don't bring me in to tell people straight off about first impressions, because that means that they're forced into this piece that's not them. No, I always say, know that you're going to be judged. So what do you want people to say about you? The famous Steve Jobs, what do people say about you when you're not in the room? I always say to people, when you're not in the room, what's the first 3 words you want people to think about you? And how can your clothes kind of help that? So what I do is I take the control back. I get women and men to take the control back so that they decide. Because the thing is that, if you don't take control of that, then you are being not irresponsible, but you're not taking responsibility for what people are going to think about you. And you could say, I don't care. But the thing is, you have to care if you're in a business where you're selling yourself. And I got a great question actually about a month ago from a student who I was doing a graduate program. And this actually sums it up. And he said, but Aoife, if I've been interviewed by a tech firm and they're in a hoodie, let's say and I'm like stupidly on a call wearing a shirt. Am I not going to look a bit ridiculous? And I said, the thing is that you may look ridiculous. You actually won't, because what happens is that the next person he interviews could turn up in a hoodie. The difference is that you've shown respect and he hasn't. You could both have a PhD in the very same thing. You could both be brilliant, but the difference is you've shown respect.
Mm.
So I put it back on the person all the time. And I know myself that, we had 160 people come into Deloitte every year. And the first day they'll all come, look, I have sons, I've dressed them for an internship. Shine your shoes, good God, close your shirt. I've been there. And he's going, oh God, here she goes again. But I used to love watching them all come in, and you could see they were spick and span, the first uniform, like the first day of school, but it showed a massive respect to the organization. And what's interestingly is that, you could say to yourself, what am I here doing dressed up like this? But the reality is you also feel good.
Mm-hmm.
You feel great. And so there's nothing to lose by showing up for yourself and by showing up. But there's a lot to lose, Louise, if you think about that one thing where you've decided to show up in a hoodie, but you've got a PhD, but there's actually a guy who's picked you at the post because he showed respect. So that's the difference between getting a job or not. So that's how important that image and first impression piece is.
Yeah, I remember even during COVID, I used to obviously spent a lot of time in Zoom all day, every day, but I would always, be dressed up. I would have my nice clothes on, and then I used to have my nice perfume on, especially if I was doing a big Zoom or a big webinar. And my husband used to say to me, "But why are you putting on the perfume?" And I said, "It's for me. It's for me. It's just for me so that I'm ready."
Become the Louise you need to become, isn't it?
You step into that persona.
Yeah. And I was asked a few years ago to do an interview, just to, the new guard, the uniform.
Oh
And
yeah.
I met this guard and I said, what do you think? Because they kind of went to not hoodies, but, kind of anoraks, and they lost the jacket. And he said, I really missed the structure of the jacket. I felt important, and I just love that uniform. So it's interesting. It was only a small change, but I have 4 Zoom tops, Louise. I only wear them they're all red. And I only wear them for my big Zooms where I have a lot of people on it. The minute I put it on, everything changes. My body language changes, my accent, everything changes. And the kids also know, do not ask her where the hockey stick is right now, because she's now in that mood. And then actually, when I get off the Zoom, I change into calming blue, because I was up for that, let's say 45 minutes, an hour, and then I need to kind of come down. But I just feel if we take control back, it's not somebody telling us you have to turn up like this.
So, okay, tell us, if you were doing a consultation with somebody, like what are the steps that you go through?
Okay, so first of all, I don't know this person. We're starting from scratch. So I get them to fill in a form. The form is the usual basics. It's everything from hair color, likes, dislikes. But what will tell me so much about them is that I'll ask them, what are the 3 words that they describe themselves as? And then the next question is, what 3 words would you like to be described as? And then there's a third question in there where I say, what's your style, personality? Because people might come to me and say they're classic. Nobody is truly classic, honestly. And if they are, they're not coming to me. People are always classic with a twist or classic with an edge. So I ask them to choose 3 words, because if it's only one, it's like if somebody was to ask yourself to sum you up in 1 word, that's kind of difficult, because there's so many parts to us. So I asked them to describe themselves in 3 words. So to be honest, before I meet them, if you can imagine, Louise, if I'm going to your house, I'm coming into your personal space. So I will look at that, and that'll actually determine how I dress. Because if somebody I don't come in all style bob and all lots of color, because I'm too much of a presence in the room. I'm in people's bedroom. They do not need style bob in the bedroom. They need Aoife, who is here to help them, achieve, let's say, a better wardrobe for their own goals. So when I look at the form, I go, right, no bright colors. I always try and wear a lot of blue and green. And I never wear strong colors for a consultation. I know kind of how to dress. And then I do speak a lot about I do an introvert extrovert program with them, or not program, exercise. Because if somebody tells me that they are an introvert, and I say, God, you'd look fab in red, they'll go, oh my God, because color is a form of communication. So when I go into, let's say, a meeting or a networking event and I don't know anybody, I have to actually make myself look interesting. I do that through color, because I'm going in, I need people to talk to me. So you can understand, if I start putting an introvert into bright colors, because orange is the color of networking, red is the color of energy, that's not what they need to hear, because it's too much. If I said to an introvert, by the way, black doesn't suit you, that's not a good to start a conversation. So to be honest, I work very much with the personality. What people don't understand is, someone said to me, what's the biggest thing that shocked you about this business? And I said, people think it's about clothes. The end result is clothes, But actually, I could be 40 minutes, Louise, talking to somebody before I even mention clothes. I have to get to know who they are. I also have to get their trust. So we do that. We sit down, and then I go to the wardrobe. No, actually, the colors first, and then I go into the wardrobe, and I think of their three words that they want to feel in their clothes. I think of their three words of what they want people to say about them, and I have a first glimpse, and at first I'm going, okay, this top might be aging you. And I don't mean that in terms of looking 60 versus 50 or 50 versus 40. I'm talking about a youthful energy. When I work with women over 40, I always say you should have a youthful energy to yourself as opposed to looking young. And I go through the tops and I go through things, and then first times I will take out stuff that looks a bit wrecked. And people might say to me, "Oh, if I haven't worn this in ages, are you going to take that out?" And if I feel it's a good quality item, I'll say, "Well, do you know what? Let's not wear it the way you used to wear it. So if you always wore that with skinny jeans, that lovely blazer, why don't we try a wide leg jean?" And then I put loads of combinations together. I was in a house 2 weeks ago. She wanted to go shopping, and I said, "You know what? We've worked together 4 times shopping. Let me see the wardrobe." We put 88 outfits together. 88, there's like 80, crazy. I was in the house for Christmas. We removed 9 bags of clothing, and the girl stood there and she goes, "Aoife, what am I going to wear for the next 2 weeks? I've got all these things coming up." We had 25 outfits left because she couldn't see the wood from the trees.
Mm.
So I love going in and going, "That's a killer outfit. That is you. Try it on. That works for you. That shape, that's not you, that shape." But that doesn't mean you're a bad shape, by the way, because people are convinced they've got to lose a stone before they meet the style bob or any image consultant. That is rubbish because you've got to dress for the person and the shape you are today. Because if you constantly put life off for a half a stone, the reality is that you're not going to do anything until that half a stone. So, I mean, you have to get dressed every day. It has to count. So I go through the wardrobe. I will pick out the pieces that I feel are going to make them really kind of go for it, like just put their shoulders back. We have very honest conversations. And sometimes I'll say to you, and actually, a really good exercise was when we took out 9 bags of clothing from a particular house, there was dresses that were in good condition. And you might say, "God, how, it's a terrible thing to do from a sustainability point of view." Now, they went to a good home, but she did a fantastic exercise where she tried on the dress and she goes, "Aoife, I just don't feel the same in it now as at 54 than I did at 44. So now it's aging me, but at 44, I felt great."
Mm.
And it was a great decision, and we cut that out. So I adore this part of the process. I mean, I could every day go into people's houses. Not that I have ridiculous energy, but once I get going, I was 7 hours in a house last week. And, I knew if I stopped, actually, when you stop, you're just gonna fall over. But I get so excited about using what people already have, getting them to just get that kind of, how would I say it, their vibe back again. I love that. And I love the fact that I work with lots of ages because I'm 51 now. I'm getting into this business relatively late. For me, vibrancy is at any age. Relevancy is at any age. Being looking modern. I hate the word trendy. I rule it out of all my talks, but modernity is a different word. So I've great fun going through the wardrobe. Sometimes we have a pile to go away. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes people say, "God, if I didn't know I had so many clothes, we don't need to go shopping." And I say, "We don't need to go shopping." So, and then I just continue the journey with them. I've got my kind of constant clients. I work with people overseas because I have my own app to do that. And I have a very close relationship with my clients. I would say they tell me more than they would tell their friends. And one thing I've learned about all of this is I don't judge like I used to. Not that I was a judgmental person, is that now that I'm older and I see what people have gone through, I know that there's a lot more going on behind people's lives.
Mm.
And I think I'm very proud that people bring me into their lives and it's highly rewarding. But I'm very much now, when I see things going on, I know that there's just a lot more to it. And that's made me probably, I won't say a better person, but a bit more understanding of women and men.
I remember a few years ago, my daughter is an Irish dancer. So when we were going to buy her first, was it her? No, I think it was her third Irish dancing dress. It was the first one we were buying from new, so we actually could select the color. And I spent a whole summer taking the child, as she was then, in my bedroom and putting every color that I could find, warm colors, cool colors, on her and taken photographs. And we used to sit down and I would be fascinated at how different she looked depending on it was it a warm color, a cool color, and some colors absolutely were out. Another because this is going to cost a few thousand euros. So it's like I want to get the right color. It needs to suit her, and it needs to be able. I need to be able to resell it afterwards. I know we've spoken a lot about color, but obviously, like there are colors that suit people and don't suit people. And how do you go through that process? And or do you find that people already know that? Maybe they've throughout the years figured it out, or
I think subconsciously people know it, but they kind of don't know what they know or how they know it, if that makes sense. So when I did my color analysis course in London, Julie, who's wonderful, who's written this wonderful book called How Not to Wear Black, who trained me, I came back to my wardrobe and I went, okay, now I know why I don't wear those 5 tops. Wardrobe, and they were reduced from €1,000 to 99 cents. They weren't, but you know what I mean? They were like in the sale, I have to buy them. And I'm going, I never reach for them, never reach for them. And what it was is that the colors were all pastels and they were making me ridiculously pasty and very white and pale. And I just looked unhealthy and ill. So on a day where you might have had a lot of sleep or you have a lot going on, why would I choose to wear something like that? So then I started to get very tuned in to colors that work for me and colors that don't. So you might say, gosh, where do I start with that? So you have a cool or warm skin tone. The warm skin tone, there's 2 types. If we go back to the 4 seasons, that is your typical old color analysis, but there is autumn and spring. And if you think of the autumn colors, it's somebody that, might be Spanish or Italian. There's a lot of yellow in the skin. And they suit all the colors that I have to put on a ridiculous amount of fake tan to wear. So the terracotta, the olive green, the khaki, the browns, the creams, they're so beautiful, and the tans and camels. But on me, they're awful. But if you see somebody with a beautiful, natural, warm skin tone, it just sits seamlessly with it. And when I was doing my analysis, I had this lovely gentleman who was from Spain. And the minute I saw him and I said, oh, can I put you in neon pink? Can I put you in, all those colors you see in like the Zara ads? Can I put you in all those bright colors? And what I realized is that the color was wearing him, not him wearing the color. The neon pink was way too bright, but the salmon pink was beautiful. The coral bright red was awful on him, but the orange was stunning. The bright yellow, awful, the mustard was fab. So what I realized is that, we have to align our skin. Of course, don't get me wrong, Louise, we all love a little bit of fake tan. We want to take the blueness away from the legs and all that. But actually, if we can align our colors, our best colors to the clothing, we don't have to do as much as that. But that's sorry, I'm digressing. That's the autumn skin tone. The other warm skin tone could be, somebody who might have red hair, who could have lights in their hair, auburn, could be blonde, freckles. They will take a little bit of a tan. They will have, they blush. And they take all the beautiful emerald green. So they take the colors of spring. If you look out in a lovely garden now, they take all those bright, clear colors and they look beautiful. Like if I think of, I'm obviously wearing aqua blue today because I am like a spring coloring and it suits me very well, but I look awful in a pale blue. I just will have a whiteness to the face. In fact, if you might see it here, but I've got a white sheet of paper and I'm going to put it up to my face and you can see I'm just gone all pasty versus wear something that suits me. But that's the spring, and the spring personality, by the way, is out there, very bright, loves the changing of seasons. And the autumn personality loves all the terracotta colors. They're a real driver. And then when it comes to the winter skin tone and the summer skin tone, they're all the cool colors. The winter is extremely pale, jet black hair generally. There's a massive contrast between their skin and their hair color. So they can take, the lovely jewel color you're wearing today. They can take the royal blues, the burgundies, the fire engine red. They wear black really well. They have no rosacea or any pigmentation in their skin, because if someone's got pigmentation in skin or rosacea and they put on bright red, it's just going to make it flare up. But they take those cool colors really beautifully. And then you've got the summer skin tone, which is very pale blonde, pale white. And they're the ones who suit pastels. They're stunning in pastels. So when I do color analysis, I say to people, don't get so stuck up in your colors. And I don't mean it that way, but how I live my life by my colors is I know what makes me look crap. And then I don't wear the rest. So I know what makes me look unhealthy. So I know if pale pastels, really awful. People go on about white t-shirt being a wardrobe staple. That's absolute rubbish because pure white up here is very pale on an awful lot of skin tones. They suit a very cool skin tone. I know that khaki is awful on me, but I can wear it down here. The whole thing, Louise, is to make sure that from your chin to the top of your chest is where your best colors should be. So if black doesn't suit you, wear it in a V, wear it in a square. Just don't wear it up here. If you do, put a scarf on or something like that. So I know when I'm shopping, I shop very strategically. I know that khaki top is lovely, and I know it's reduced from whatever. It's not going to get worn. It's not because I look crap in it, and I'll go back and I'll put on my daughter's fake tan drops, and that's not going to go well. And I'll have to put on, I don't know, whatever to make that work. So then I'm changing myself too much to do that. So now I go, well, you know what? If I want to, I'm really tired. I'm going to wear this aqua blue because I know that it'll make my eyes very clear. It'll bring out the lights in my hair. I know that I'm not going to wear orange because my skin tone isn't that warm. I'll take a bit of a tan, but I know my friend who is Italian, she wear orange beautifully. But you know what? I wear coral and it'll be better on me than it is on her. So what I do is it's like taking back your control. What's great on me? Because what happens is this is the issue I have with Instagram. All these people who are buying clothes off bloggers and their coloring's different, their body shape is different.
Yeah.
So I use color pretty much. I love the psychology of color, obviously, but in terms of how I use it from a skin tone point of view, is that what will make me glow and what will wash me out. And if you're at home and listening to this, put even drapes of fabric. My daughters, this is funny, I've got my daughters, she's just left this on the floor this morning. But, as they do, I have her dressing gown here, and you may not be able to see it, but I know myself that the eyes are bluer. Whereas if I put on a really pastel pink, I just look washed out. But again, it's to do with this space.
By the way, if you're listening in and you want to make a comment or give us some feedback, be sure to tag us. You can tag me at Sell on Social Lim. And how can we tag you, Aoife?
At the Style Bob.
At the Style Bob. Yeah, I'm just thinking back on Tuesday, I think it was last. I went for a run when my daughter was doing some activity, and I came home from the run, and I was feeling fine, wasn't feeling tired or anything. And my mother-in-law, who go to yoga together, came to visit me, and I was sitting there with I had just come in, and I had this neon yellow, like really pale color on me, and then the both of them said, "Wow, you look wrecked." And then
You.
yeah, I know. Oh, yeah, she does. She looks awful wrecked, doesn't she? And I hadn't felt tired till they said it. And then after that, I was like, oh,
I'm wrecked.
I have to go to bed. But I'm just thinking, I'm sure it was the top didn't help.
The top, it really, I can't tell you. Like, I know myself, if I haven't had a great night's sleep, and I love a white shirt, but I have to wear it, open it up and put a bit of jewelry on and stuff. But like a white t-shirt, the difference, I just go for an ecru. So it's not like I can't wear white. I just have to go slightly off from it, So how I get color into my own life is I'm always freezing. So that's the great thing actually about knowing your color, if anyone travels, in terms of going away for work, is that I know I don't suit all the browns and creams and tans. So I don't own brown bags, tan, let's say light tan boots or anything like that, or belts, because I know that it's not part of my color palette. And the reason why I say this is when I pack, I pick one color. So it's generally gray, black, or navy. And I will build my outfits around that. But then I get color in through my scarves. And then I pack all my jewelry into a separate box. And that will bring in color as well, because I know that there's no point in me in owning all those beautiful shades when it's not part of my palette. So color is really powerful, but also from a psychology point of view, I mean, I work with women who might have a negative 360 in work, not negative, but let's say if they're unapproachable. And we actually will use color to change that perception. So it's really, really powerful. I could do a whole podcast just on color, but it's great fun. But like, I met Trini, by the way, last Friday, and Trini doesn't know me. I had to try and get her attention. So I'm sitting at home and I looked to my phone and I said, "Oh, Trini's around the house. I'm just going to go in." And I went upstairs and I picked a leopard print jacket with loads of color on it and a pair of jeans. And I said, you know what, I need Trini to notice me. And I did, and I went in and she said, "Oh my God, your jacket." And we ended up having a big 5-minute conversation on my jacket. We had a great chat. So that was me going, I need to stand out. And she's delightful anyway. And it was great fun to meet her.
Well, look at Aoife, you've given us so many tips, so much tips and advice here. I want to thank you very much. So to finish off, for anyone who's a consultant, a coach, they want to build trust, they want to go out there, they want to show up, they want to be their best selves. Final piece of advice for them. Call you.
First of all, whatever message you're giving out as a coach, whatever you're doing, remember that what you wear is part of messaging and how you communicate. So I always call it the ABC of communication when it comes to our image. A is our appearance. B is our behavior in terms of how we are as a person, how we're reared. C is our body language. Communication up to 90%, as we know, is nonverbal. When one of them is off, our message does not land the way it should. So it's like me turning up to do a presentation and my content is fabulous, but I'm in my chair and I'm just looking like I'm not giving a toss, and I'm not dressed in a form of respect. My message won't land with the same impact. So always think, how can I use my image to, I suppose, accelerate my message or to give it life? And always consider it is not that your image is going to make your message powerful, but it will help get it out there in a very trusting way. And I think all consultants, whether you're making a presentation or whether you're doing your one-to-ones, how can you use your image just to communicate what you're saying? And color is really important. Bright colors excite. Orange, pink, yellow excites, and red. Red is the most exciting color. And calming colors are blue and green. So if you are in a situation where you are going to meet somebody and you need to get trust straight away, it's not about you. I wear red when it has to be about me, i.e. I'm on a Zoom with 100 people, I need to stand out. But I'm not going to wear it to where I need to get trust straight away. So think of the calming colors. Blue is the color of trust. Green is the color of balance. You can combine the two to get a desired approach, but don't underestimate the power of your personal image. And it's about best foot forward. And when you put the best foot forward as well, it actually shows. It shows in every way.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So just remind everyone again, Aoife, how can they find you?
So I am on LinkedIn under Aoife Dunican, and then I'm on Instagram under The Style Bob, and also on Facebook as well. And
Fantastic.
my website is thestylebob.com.
Fantastic. Well, as I said, don't forget to tag us all in your comments and let us know what you think of the show. And if you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future tips, just like we've had an amazing show here today. So thanks very much, Aoife, again. I really appreciate your time and your expertise.
Thank you, Louise.
Thanks for listening to the Social Media Takeaway podcast. If you loved this episode and want deeper support with your marketing, head over to sellonsocialmedia.academy/hello.